Hi guys, this is Nitesh. Welcome to your face reading channel. In today's video, I'm going to touch upon a very interesting facial traits insight for you because I'm going to share with you some of the insights, some of the major physical traits, facial traits of people who have defaulted, who have been financial criminals. And by this video, what you're going to learn is some of the facial traits that can act as a warning sign for you before you're lending money to people like them, right? And I'll also touch upon the underlying emotional cause. What could be some of the causes that you'll observe in them, which are quite common in nature, but something which can teach us a very important lesson with respect to when we are taking care of people who are associated with us, or let's say if you're a parent, how your child needs to be nurtured so that they don't develop those facial traits or emotional traits that make people wanting to default or willing to default, or even if they're not willing to default, how can they get into a territory which is not suitable for them, right? So let's go into the magic board to unveil secrets of facial traits, where we are going to learn some of the top financial criminals who have defaulted money of the banks of the people, and what we can learn from them and better ourselves in. And especially this video will be very helpful if you're lending somebody money and you have to decide whether you need to give them or not, right? So let's go deep dive into the magic board to uncover a lot of those insights. Welcome to the magic board, guys. Here what I have done is I have captured list of financial defaulters, of course from Google. I have taken their images, and what we are going to do is we are going to observe some of the common facial traits in them, and we are going to list that down into the physical traits section. Of course, I'm going to use some of the face reading principles, and I'm going to share about the meaning of that. And we are also going to observe their emotional needs as to what could have driven them to be maybe going morally incorrect in their life, right? Because ultimately it's all about how you're going through your emotions that determine how you're going to behave into your life, right? So we are going to observe some of the common physical traits that I'm going to definitely share with you, and I'm also going to share the emotional needs, what they may have gone through, so that we can have a little more than just the factual insights. We all know that they may have defaulted into their life. Of course, they have defaulted, and it is definitely their conviction that has led them to this particular place where they are not highly reputed as of now, but there is definitely an underlying cause which we need to figure out as to what they have gone through, so that once we are interacting with people who are into our lives, maybe our children, we can lead them to have a better life, and so that we can protect them morally to be a better person, right? So these are some of the people that I have got from the internet. That is, Bernie Madoff was one who created a Ponzi scheme. Aaron Stanford also was in those lines where he defaulted. Jordan Belfort was one of the defaulters as well. There's a movie also on Jordan Belfort, I think, which most of us has seen. I think The Wolf of Wall Street was the name of the movie. Then Ramalingam Raju is one who has created Satyam Computers, I believe. So it's a defaulter on that particular list. Robert Maxwell also is included in some of the schemes where he has had a financial default history. Mehul Choksi, this is from India, and Nirav Modi is also from India, and he has taken a lot of money in loan and has never returned back, right? So those are the defaulters that I have captured, and we are going to make the observation. But before I share the observation on them, and the of course learning that you're going to get through face reading, I'm going to share with you what are the basics of face reading, so that once you're going through this particular video, you have better idea as to how you can ascertain whether a person has those traits or not, right? So a face is made up of basically for it is influenced by the genetics, right? the inheritance from your parents or from your grandparents and the likes. Then the environmental influence that you happen to have, that marks a significant mark on the face, right? That's the reason why two twins or twins are different from each other, because the life circumstances that they have faced into their life are significantly different, and because of that they may have experienced different emotions which has shaped their face a little different. That's why when you observe twins, over the number of years that they have gone by and the older they become, you'll observe that the more different they become with respect to how their faces are. And that reason is definitely this, that they have encountered different environmental influences, different situations, they have expressed emotions in a different way, of course basis on what is their primary element. And I have made an entire video on the 5 elements, which you can definitely go through to understand people better, to understand personality better, to understand what energies we display in our life, and how primary element governs us on how we react into our life, how we basically do things, which work we can be more interested towards, right? So that is a complete video that you can have a walkthrough. But for this particular video, just stick by this particular thing, what or how a face is made. And the other part is the way your repetitive emotions are, those cause the markings on the face, right? And how repetitive emotions can be made. Let's say you laugh a lot, right? So there will be line formation in the face, and generally the lines that go above your corner of the eye in this particular way, they are the joy lines. And similarly the sad lines are ones that go down, right? And it's nothing wrong to have sad lines, because what goes up should come down, right? It becomes bad, or it becomes troublesome when this area extends over to the cheek area, that kind of goes to the grief territory. I'm not going to cover that in this particular video, but this is something which you need to understand as to how a face is made up of. And here the emotional experiences that these people may have had in their earlier life, maybe when they were a child, may have been such that has made them pretty close in their loop, or maybe kind of have affected how morally they need to operate into their life, right? That's why I have mentioned that face is generally a makeup of your genetics, the environmental influence, that means the surroundings that you have came up with, and the repetitive emotions that you have experienced, and the way you feel those emotions, and thereby reflect upon that. Now, once we are going through this particular slide, you're going to observe why I have mentioned the basics of the face, so that you'll be able to have better understanding of when we are going through these pictures, to ascertain what could be those traits that may have lead them to be financial defaulters, right? So let us go through this particular picture of Bernie Madoff, and we are going to simultaneously revolve around all of them, because we are going to observe some of the common traits that they may have and then make our findings, right? So very important thing which you'll observe in most of these financial defaulters is that their Shen is pretty dead, right? What is Shen? Shen is nothing but the light of the eyes. It's the backlight of the eyes that indicates how much you are in the moment, how much you are honest in life, how much of life you're feeling in the moment. And it is something that changes from moment to moment, but when it becomes a dead Shen, it means that morally maybe you have gone pretty down, right? So that is one of the important observations that you'll make in people like these, is that they may have developed dead Shen. I'm going to share what is dead Shen, although I have mentioned in brief about it. So how you can see dead Shen, if you just zoom into the picture and observe their eyes, right? And if you see the light has kind of significantly dimmed. It's like it's a light or dimmed light, where you'll observe that their sense of moral obligation, their sense of moral honesty, it gives a feel that it has significantly dropped. Versus the light, when you see monks who are generally and mostly one of the honest souls in earth, you'll observe that the light on their eyes, on their face, is significantly different from what these guys have, right? It is one of the tough segment to read. Shen is definitely one of the tough things to master in face reading. But over the period of time, once you start reading people, once you start reading from pictures, you're going to learn to master this, and you're going to learn as to what an individual must be thinking at that point in time, and that's one of the important reasons which can help you gain mastery over face reading, and which can help you learn about how people can be, right? So if you observe in depth, you may observe that the eyes don't give a sense of being extremely moral, right? This is a state of clear dead shin, and dead shin is let me just explain what dead shin could mean to you guys. Dead shin means maybe morally you have gone extremely down, right? It is just like, as I mentioned, that shen is the light of the eyes, and when light of the eyes has gone, it clearly indicates that the fire energy, which indicates a sense of emotions, which indicates a sense of experiencing moment as it is and feeling the joy of it, that has gone missing. And this you are going to observe in a lot of criminals, not only financial criminals. It is something which you'll observe in maybe murderers or people who are in that category who default. Dead shen is one of the very common markings, or one of the very common things that you're going to see. So let me go to this particular guy as well, who is Alan Stanford, and if you observe his shen also, it gives a sense of shen that is dead in nature. Shen that is dead in nature indicates that maybe it doesn't really bother if you're going morally correct. You just want to be the way you are, and you want to gain maybe maximum profits, even if it comes at the cost of harming others. Your whole soul objective is to just fill in your pocket, right? That is when dead shen gains prominence. When situations like where a normal person is likely to behave and should behave, when your shen goes into that dark territory, it can really switch off the real human nature of your life, right? So that is the shen which you're going to observe in this particular picture as well of Alan Stanford, and you'll observe that in Robert Maxwell as well. See, if you see his shen, it gives a sense of feel that very much it is not it has lost the touch with reality, right? This, as I mentioned, is something which is difficult to learn from face reading, but once you're observing more and more of faces, you're going to learn that dead shen is one of the most common component that you're going to observe in people who default in general. Not only in financial defaulters, it is something that you're going to observe in a lot of folks, right? It's something which can really be an incredible thing to discover. So once you see dead shen, it indicates that a person may have lost touch with reality and may not be operating very morally into their life, right? So other thing, which is other physical trait that you will find in people maybe who lie a lot, is their extreme thin lips. Extreme thin lips does go with people who may not be extremely honest with what they say, and this trait maybe you'll observe in some of the defaulters or most of the defaulters in their life. Right, and they may go with long lips, but the thinness would be extreme, like extreme thinness maybe. There is something that you may observe, and if you observe Bernie Madoff here, extreme thinness is there, right? His face also, Alan Stanford, not an extreme full lips is what you're observing, right? Jordan Belfort goes with long lips, and long lips does give you ability to speak as much as you want to, even gives you ability to impress, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you will be extremely honest. It's very important that you club the features together so that you make a complete analysis. It doesn't mean that people with long lips but thin lips necessarily mean that they are going to lie, or they are not going to be extremely honest with you. But it's important that you evaluate the complete profiling, right? A dead chin coupled with long and thin lips is something that exemplifies that maybe people are not completely honest with who they are or what they want to show, right? So second feature that you'll observe is extreme thin lips, right? That is something which you'll observe in people who does default, right? But as I mentioned, it's important that you club these features together to gain the finding. Otherwise, your finding could be incorrect. And through face reading, you are making an estimation, right? It's not the whole soul truth. It's just an anticipation that you're making a research. As when you're lending money to somebody, you do want to gain what is their background as bank checks their profile, right? It's just an additional extension that can add as a weapon in your armory to kind of give you that additional support in making a decision whether you need to lend your money to somebody of these traits or outside of these traits, right? So so you'll observe long lips here, also thin lips here in Robert Maxwell as well. Ramalingam Raju, if you see, his lips are quite full in nature, but the eyes, right? The eyes, if you observe deeply, they give again an aspect of dead chin, right? And when you see a dead chin, one of the indications is that the person has lost touch with reality, and maybe he's not completely honest with his workings, right? And in Jordan Belfort's case, you observe that the lips are definitely on the thinner side, but he has excess fire into his eyes. And excess fire is something that you again can gauge once you see the shin. And excess fire can indicate that person want to gain quick feats in short span of time, and to gain those quick feats, they may adopt ways that are not very ethical, that are not very fair in nature, but it's just because they want to attain peak in a very short period of time. They can adopt ways that really go beyond the fairness or morality or rules of being justified to what really is, right? So that again is one of the things that you'll observe in some of the people who may adopt unfair means, is that they may have excess fire into their personality. And each of the elements that we possess, when there is excess of it or when there is deficiency of one of it, it can really be a sign of bother. And extreme fire does possess a person to be maybe hyperactive. It can possess people to be attaining things which they want to very quickly. And excess fire does mean that you can adopt ways which really can be detrimental to the real workings of your life and thereby people around, right? So he has excess fire, immense excess fire, which also means that he needs that sense of attention, that sense of people noticing that he's growing, right? And that kind of fuels his personality. And when that goes a little big, it's like a demon grows within which wants to capture the whole world, right? And that is a sign of excess fire, which kind of becomes difficult to control. But then if you're using your fire correctly and in a fair way, you definitely can master gaining finances in ethical way, right? So that is something which you'll observe definitely when you're seeing people like him. And to come on Nirav Modi, right, this particular guy, he has a lot of enhanced wood energy, and wood energy you can gauge through his extreme excess eyebrows. And one of the things that you're going to observe once you divide his face into two halves, This is the central meridian. I'm not able to draw the line correctly. And if you observe the left part of the face, this is the left part of the face versus this, which is the right part of the face, and you just see the level of iris visibility on both fronts, you'll observe that right part of his face, which governs the aspect of how his public life would be. The eyes thus give an indication that he may not be one, or he's very smart in what he wants to be shown off, right, in the public sector, in the public ground, because the right part is related to how you're wanting people to see you versus the left part that indicates about your private life, right? So on the right part, on his eyes, it indicates a sense of being extremely witty, clever. It indicates a sense of also an intention that at the outset itself, there was never an intention to return back the money. And in fact, he has taken a loan of more than 10,000 crores from one of the leading banks in India, and he has not paid like significant amount. He has never returned at the first place, and it was never his intention. So defaulters can be ones who can really be flown into the situation where maybe they are making profits, and they're in the middle, they're adopting unfair ways to kind of see that if they are profiteering, they may continue profiteering, sort of that. But there are some who want to intentionally default, and when I see Nirav Modi's face, it indicates that he wants to intentionally default from the very beginning. There is not an intention to return, right? So that is something which is also, you are going to have an emotional observation that they are going to intentionally default at the outset. Even for Jordan Belfort, it indicates a sense of shen that indicates that maybe there was never an intention to really care for people whom he is investing the money for, or whom he is really helping to buy stocks for. Whereas in case of Ramalingam Raju, while observing his shen, there is also a mark of guilt that I can see on his face, and this is something which you'll observe gauging through shen, as I mentioned. So on his face, it can indicate that during the middle of the process, middle of the running of the process, maybe he has found himself out, and kind of moral appeal is visible, where there is that mark of guilt that could be observed. Whereas in case of Alan Stanford, for Bernie Madoff, they indicate, even for Robert Maxwell, their faces indicates that from the very outset, they don't have intentions to pay. So that is something which you'll learn. For Mehul Choksi, there is that sense of guilt mark that I could see on his face, right? And it's definitely extremely visible. And one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is the emotional needs. What could drive them emotionally to be in a territory where they don't want to be morally correct? And one of the observations that you're going to make is that their dead shen. What is the reason that dead shen occurs? Dead shen, why that occurred? It could be that they may not have got love when they were a child, when they were growing, and that has a significant impact on how we behave professionally when we grow up. So you'll observe a lot of criminals, they have not received the right amount of nurturing. They may have had parents who have divorced and maybe have not given them immense care and love, and to find that love, they have adopted ways which could be not pretty right at that situation, but somewhere, because they were not nurtured right, they were gone into territory that is not really helping them to grow, right? So lack of love in the childhood can definitely contribute to you feeling not it's like distancing away from reality, distancing away from normal humans in a way that you can be extremely individualistic, you can be extremely towards yourself, towards gaining what you want to gain, the prominent share, and not care about others, right? This is something which is kind of a selfish behavior aroused out of lack of love, which starts very much from the childhood. And believe me, I have worked with many of my clients whom I have seen this particular thing, that lack of love can really contribute to their misery in their relationships, in how they are operating professionally. So it's important that if you have a child, love them. If you have a sibling, make sure that you give them a lot of love, because love goes long way in fueling your fire element that helps you be in touch with your reality, and it helps you be morally correct, because when you feel full, you don't search that outside. And when you search love outside of your family or outside of your friends, you may find yourself in streams which are not really helpful to, perform well into your life. These guys have done pretty well in their financials, of course. That's why they have reached positions where they have been fraudulent for so much money. But then it also indicates that that significant portion of love, that excess drive which has kind of been uncontrolled drive, has led them to do things which maybe possibly they regret now, right? So that is one of the things that I have observed in most of them, that lack of love is definitely significant contributory force. Again, the other emotional thing that I have observed in few of them is that they want to have the excess attention. Right, in the case of Jordan Belfort, excess attention, people noticing them and adopting ways to be unfair and make good bucks, quick bucks. Excess attention through excess fire has been the reason. So it's important that you control your fire to be in natural state and in balanced state, because once the elements are in balance and once your force are operating in correct way, you tend to be more fair, you tend to be more honest, you tend to be more moral into your life, right? So that is again one of the things that you'll observe in some of them. Again, one of the physical traits that you're going to observe is enhanced wood. As I mentioned, Nirav Modi has enhanced wood, which you can see from a very thick eyebrows. It's not bad to have thick eyebrows. It's just that when you couple these features with dead chin, extreme thin lips, it can really make things a little difficult, right? So that is the thing. So let me write one of the other traits is extremely enhanced eyebrows, right? And it's important that you're combining these features to see and one of the very important things is dead chin is something which you'll observe the most. Then thin lips are something which does go by, where Rose Roastery has also mentioned that people may not be as honest as they pretend to be. So that is something which is again a feature. Enhanced eyebrows is nothing but an enhanced level of wood that induces a lot of drive into your personality, and to fulfill that drive you may adopt ways to burn out your excess energy into mediums that may be unfair. So it's important how you use the forces of nature, how you use the forces of your elemental makeup to gain the best out of yourself, right? So that is the most important aspect, and it's not that one of them will be the contributory force. It's the phase as a whole that can give you indication as to whether a person can be honest with you or not, is likely to be honest with you or not. So that is very, very important thing to see, right? And one of the other observations when you're going to read people whom you want to make an analysis of, or whom you want to feel of, is that you'll observe that their face there is a kind of dishonesty that you feel once you intuitively see them. It's like there is a kind of maybe a staunch disorientation of some sort is something that you'll observe. Asymmetry is something which you'll observe, right? So if you see Robert Maxwell, by the look of it, by the intuition part of it, you'll feel that there is something fishy going under his mind. And even for Bernie Madoff, for Alan Stanford, for Jordan Belfort in that particular state when he really was fraudulent, now he has served his life well and has completed his sentence, and our situations very much determines what we are meant to do or what we can do. So it's important that you see people's life as a whole, and if they have improved, you should appreciate them for being better. And it's important that they gain touch with marks of moral, marks of honesty, because that is really what serves well for long run, right? So that is something which you'll observe, the fourth point that I mentioned, and it's something which will be really, really helpful for you to see through, right? So yeah, this is particularly the main stuff that I wanted to share with you for the facial traits of people who have defaulted financially. And these are the famous folks which you'll find on the internet as well. And I hope the video proves to be helpful for you in gaining additional insights as to if you have to lend money to people who have these facial traits, whether you really need to trust them or not, right? But it's important that after seeing these features, go with your intuition, go with what is your inner voice that is saying to you about the people whom you want to lend money, because that inner voice really helps us if we trust it, and it can really make wonders with our life if we get in touch with reality, right? So it's important, firstly, that emotionally you are very full into your life, so that you remain more honest into your life, so that you remain more moral into your life, right? So make sure that you do things which seems to be correct, which are morally high in nature, because once we are honest, we feel more good, and when we feel more good, our shen remains pretty clean. And when shen remains clean, it indicates that your fire element is in balance, right? So that is very, 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 very important, that our shen remains in touch with reality, in touch with the real emotion, so that we can feel that if a person is losing money, we feel for them that this may not be right? So it's important that we don't intentionally default somebody for their money, right? So that is the thing. I hope this video was helpful for you. Yes, it has gone a little long, but I hope it proves to be fruitful for you. And if you want to learn more of face reading, more of facial traits in depth, you can go to my website chehraspeaks.com, and you'll get to a web page which I have shown in many of my videos. I'm not going to say about it much in this video, but you can explore the web page. You can also connect with me for a reading, and I specialize in depth relationship reading, in-depth general reading, and you can check out the rates on my site. You can check out the course as well, where a dedicated web page is there on my site chehraspeaks.com. and Chehra Speaks is nothing but, it's in Hindi, face means chehra, and that is what chehra is, and speaks is say, of course, in English. So that is how the name is, and you can explore. I'll make sure to give the link in the description so that you'll have access to the webpage. And yes, for now, I'll say goodbye. I hope you liked the video. If yes, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep viewing content like these. Also, if you can suggest some of the videos that you want, the content of it, of course, or the title of it, you can suggest me in the comment section, and I love to view it and make video upon it. So bye for now, take care, have an amazing day ahead.